Okay, plan B. Yeah, the video wasn't showing up. Yeah, the video wasn't showing up.
Trial and error, that's okay. It happens.
Yeah. Less technical errors this time than last time, though.
Except they can hear us on stream too.
Yeah, good point. That's okay. All right. Welcome to episode 2 of Hawk Talk. Today we are joined by Jacquie Lamm, head coach over at Mankato State University Esports. Uh, Thank you, Jacquie.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Let's start out. So I think a lot of people watching today will know who you are just based on your title and if they're on socials at all. As you're, that's one thing Mankato does very well is you're all over socials. But please give an intro. Who are you? What facets of esports are you involved with? And how did you get involved in esports in
Okay.
the first place?
Well, yeah. So first, my name's Jacquie Lamm. I'm the head coach and assistant director for Minnesota State University Mankato. I am also on the board of directors. I was voted in to NACE in 2021 by our members. And most recently, I am a WIGI, which is Women in Games International Mentor, and one of the co-founders for Esports and Coffee. So I'm in a lot of different places. Um, but in general, to start off with how I became in esports, I've been a gamer my whole life. My first game I played was Zombie Ate My Neighbors. Loved it, still to this day. And then I now have graduated up to I play Warzone, jump scares, just about any of those fun games. So gamer my whole life. While I was getting my graduate degree here at MSU, I had a research class where I needed to create a research program of anything of my choosing. And at the time, esports in collegiate world was just kind of up and coming. I was like, oh well, let's just kind of look and dive into this a little bit more. And it actually jump started my entire career and pathway to graduate. I dedicated my entire graduate degree to esports and collegiate and high school programs and how to create them and build them. And so that's kind of how I came about this position and creating the program here at MSU.
Very cool. So it sounds like you kind of created your own position almost.
I did. I was very grateful to be involved in the process. We had two very large clubs on campus, Maverick League of Legends and CS:GO, and I was brought on to advise because of my work that I was doing with my graduate degree. And if it wasn't for those two clubs, we probably wouldn't have progressed as fast. They were very active in letting the school know what the students wanted. And then I was brought on to advise on how to actually start the program, and IT Solutions is the department that picked us up. Without them, we also wouldn't be here. So shout out to them for bringing us on and helping us create the program.
Very cool. And it's Luis from Mavlaw. I remember when he was doing that, and it's cool to see the progression,
Yeah,
to see what you've done with it. It's quite impressive.
definitely.
So, personal, you already answered this, but we'll go over it again. What games do you play? We
Oh,
heard,
so yeah. So I love Warzone. I'm a definitely FPS shooter person. It's the fast pace. I don't consider myself a camper, but at the same time, I get scared and like I definitely can't drop a 20 bomb or anything. I'm more around like 5 to 10 if I'm lucky. Just having fun though. Very casual player for Warzone. I do a lot of story-based games. So I personally don't coach any of our teams for our titles. I'm not proficient enough to do that, but I'm very lucky to have our students and our volunteer coaches and paid coaches to do that.
that's kind of how I am too, where I'm like, I can put together a program, but do you want me coaching any specific game? Well, do we want to win or do we win? That's
Yeah, I don't think any one person could coach like
no.
5 teams at once anyways. You have to dedicate at least 20 hours, even the coaches,
Yeah,
just to be able to coach, and you can't dedicate that enough to be able to have a successful program.
yeah, especially doing that for multiple games. Um, Next personal question. What is your favorite hobby outside of anything gaming related?
Definitely spending time with my family. So I have an almost 4-year-old and now a 5-month-old. They're kind of my world right now. I definitely try and take that time away from the program, which I know a lot of directors and head coaches struggle with. So I definitely dedicate like specific hours in my day for my family, and then I either go back and forth. So for sure, family time. But then just hanging out with friends. I love to read, go. Um, I'm very into the Ren Fest and dressing up for Renaissance stuff.
Boy, you're busy. What did you dress up as this year?
Oh, witch. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't make it out this year, but I try to go every year.
Yeah, it was fun. Yep, we went, like, October 1st that weekend, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, gorgeous day. It was a perfect day to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. We were lucky this year. Uh, moving to topic 2 here. How long have you been the head coach at MNSU? I think
So, we're going on 3 years with the program, and I've had the job since, conception. I think I was hired in fall of 2020, and we officially launched in competing in spring of 2021.
okay,
The years are getting very muddled.
that
Yeah.
happens, especially with COVID. It all
Yep.
kind of blends together. How many students are in your program currently?
So we currently have 35 players, and then still trying to work on the term for this back of house, which I consider our broadcasters, our production staff, our marketing, and then all of our assistant coaches rounds about like I think we have 20 extra people, so we have between 60 to 70 in our total program.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's something we're exploring too, is how to get people involved that aren't necessarily players.
Yeah,
And
you're
it's
definitely gonna need that. Definitely don't do
totally.
everything by yourself. I would highly recommend social media interns.
Yeah,
Students can get hours or they can get credit for classes, and if you can swing work study or paying them, definitely do that. Your casters, you don't want to be doing all that by yourself, and then
yeah.
scheduling your Twitch channels, um, your Twitch streams. You definitely
Yep.
need help with that as well.
Oh yeah. Yes, we do. Like I said, episode 2, we are figuring this out on the fly. Um, but yeah, I think we'll get some scheduled once we have our teams, which we're close. What games are your students currently playing?
So after a lot of trial and error, we have we're this semester, and I think we're gonna keep with this roster going forward is League of Legends, Rocket League, Call of Duty, Smash, and iRacing. I am trying to add Hearthstone, but some one-off games, but because of our facility size, we can't house any more students.
What about Valorant?
We had Valorant, but again, it came down to, and we had Overwatch also,
Mhm.
but it came down to time management and facility space, and we weren't able to um, have those teams effectively and be able to have a successful season. Both the students and the staff fell behind, and that was my fault because I just tried to expand too big. And so that was one of the things that I tried to mention to people is just make sure you're aware of how many you can have. Because a lot of leagues you have to play from your facility for matches. And if you have too many people practicing at the same time, then you're gonna run out of space. So we can effectively have about 35 players in house at any
Okay,
time.
that makes sense. Is there any specific reason that you chose not to do those games? Just student interest or?
There was a lack of student interest for Valorant up until this semester, so we definitely it's a title that we're looking forward to and Overwatch as we expand. But again, we would need to we are working on our competition stage. We're hoping to have that done by this summer, which is kind of exciting. You guys can come down and we'll do a
Love
LAN
to.
together.
Love to.
But
I saw
until
the
then,
room. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a cool
Yep.
room.
Definitely, and our expansion will be even better. We're getting 10 new PCs, but until then, we can't accommodate any other teams effectively.
Makes sense. Uh, what leagues do you all play in?
NACE, which is National Association of Collegiate Esports, is our primary league that we pay a membership for. And then we do side tournaments in AVGL. We compete in CLAW and CCL in the spring, and then CCA in the fall and spring for our Rocket League teams.
Okay.
And so if people don't know what those are, CCL is for COD. It's the Premier COD League in the spring. CLAO is for Valorant, not Valorant, sorry. League of Legends, and it's the Premier League in spring.
And that's run by Riot, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah,
Fila?
right.
Cool. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to play in that.
Yeah, it's a fun league. They're very professional and
Yeah.
it's a very well organized league.
I've been watching their streams for a while. The next question, I'm curious about this one. What is the biggest struggle you've had to overcome as the head of your program?
Well, I kind of brought it up. Being able to host and have too many titles at once. So after our first year, we sent out a form to get interest from students of what titles that they wanted to play. And so we had a lot of interest in a lot of different titles, and we expanded to 10 titles, and we were very excited. But then going through the semester and trying to schedule people, trying to have our matches, and then trying to effectively coach or manage the teams. It just got too much for everyone and our small staff. So we had to cut back. So that was definitely a struggle for me that I wish that we hadn't gone through, but at the same time, it's a really good learning experience for us. But now we know for sure what we can effectively have and to make sure the students have the best time.
You know, that was one of the pieces of advice I took to heart when we first met because we were looking at a lot of games. And granted, we have more games, but they're at the club level now, which is a lot less organization. Uh, so where do you envision MNSU esports to be in 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years, if we can even think that far?
I mean, you can definitely dream. I think
Yeah.
10 years is a little bit long. Esports moves so fast. Like league rules are always changing yearly, sometimes even monthly rules are being added. But for 2 years, we definitely want to see our expansion for our competition stage, and then also another expansion, hopefully for another arena, so that we can provide for club teams and more titles.
Mhm.
That's definitely within 2 to 3 years. Within 5 years, I'd like to see an actual arena 5 to 10 years, an actual arena built, where we're able to house even bigger lands, bigger tournaments, and working towards a whole dedicated staff instead of just 1 to 2 people.
So you're thinking lots of spectators then, too.
Yeah, I think so we're just coming off of September from our really big land that we had, and we definitely had a lot of spectators. There's a lot going around in Mankato during that day, so I think we could have had more. But everyone really likes to go to lands. I think even just to watch. A lot of parents are involved, a lot of friends, the community. It's something to do. So if we have an arena where people can come and sit down and watch land in a tournament, I think that they would.
Agreed. They're fun. Plus, low ping is good too.
Yeah. Same network.
Yeah. Uh, Next question. What is your biggest accomplishment to date as a club and as an individual within the esports industry?
I think just getting the program up and running. The clubs that we had really helped the university see that there was a need for this. And without them, when the students need, I don't think that we'd have a program right now. I can't say that for sure, but the students and the need for wanting to be varsity players and have a varsity program, they're the ones that really brought it about. So I think that's our biggest success. And then what was the other part of the question?
As an individual, what is your biggest success?
Um, so it's kind of two things, I think. Being voted on as a board director for NACE, so that is for members of NACE, being voted on by my peers. That was definitely a highlight of my career. And then recently co-founding Esports and Coffee with 5 other individuals. It's really taking off, and I think it's going to be a really good program that we're going to be able to highlight women and some of the things that we talked about before this
Yeah,
stream started.
I think that's great, and I'd love for Dunwoody to be involved in that too. And I was checking it out this morning, so
We have a lot of big things planned, so I'm kind of excited for it.
yeah. So, what advice would you give to new schools that are thinking about starting an esports program?
I think any school that is just starting out, if you don't know how to start one, consider getting a consultant, either working with other schools that have active programs, or Edge is a esports consultant company, working with them on how to start one. Hiring a full-time director or coordinator, hiring a full-time person is a must. Don't go the part-time route, because you're gonna overwork them and they're gonna end up quitting within 2 to 3 years, and not you're not gonna want to do that. And then make sure you have a dedicated space. You showed me your space before. It looks gorgeous.
Thank
I'm
you.
I'm jealous. I love it. It looks really great. And your students are gonna be able to use that for their practice and matches, and hopefully your other club members as well.
Oh yeah, they're excited. In fact, if you look at the window, you probably see some pop in to look at us every now and then. Next topic, we're moving on to NACE. So I know we've touched on it briefly already, but what is NACE?
So NACE is the National Association of Collegiate Esports, and they are one of the leading organizations for collegiate league play. It is a membership-based program membership, so you do pay a yearly fee, and then you get access to the two varsity Premier and Varsity Plus leagues. But then they're also in partner with PlayFi Esports, so you have access to the open divisions as well.
Very cool. And I know that is one of two leagues we're looking at. I think I'll reconnect in November about that.
Yeah, there's a couple other leagues, I think, and don't limit yourself to just one. If there's a title that one league has that you want to participate in, I highly recommend doing both if you can. I know a lot of programs do more than one league for either open for free play or for paid membership. It just depends on what titles your school specifically has.
That's good advice. How long has MNSU been a member of NACE?
Since the beginning, so going on 3 years now. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, we've gone through COVID, which was a little bit of a it was a positive thing, I think, because students could play from home if they wanted to, so we were able to expand a little bit, and everyone the didn't have to come to the facility. With COVID being over, we have to play from our facility now. It's a league rule, and it's in the bylaws that you have to play in your facility. So we have some students who struggle with that and want to keep playing from home. But we're trying to promote that if school and if the students don't play at a facility, then why should we invest more in our program? So we're trying to show the value of them coming to play with us.
That makes sense. I can see the appeal from playing from home, but I think there's more appeal to playing in a LAN center,
Yeah.
personally, just on the ping rate alone.
We
So,
have really good internet too. Like, I mean, I don't know about the rest of Mankato. I know my house has good, but the internet, the facility next door, it's top notch.
what is it? What's the ping
I'm pretty
typically?
sure well, our download I'm pretty sure is 100, and we have 100
Okay.
up. And the ping, I mean, depends on the game too and servers, which ones you get into.
Yeah.
But we usually don't have any issues.
Very cool. Um, why should schools join NACE?
That's a great question. Believe that NACE is one of the leading organizations for a collegiate school to join. The structure is changing. I know that there has been some negative in the past for NACE, but since it's a member driven, you have a voice. So you get a vote, you can bring legislation changes. So your school actually has a voice in the outcome of league play. The organization itself, the competition council, works very hard on creating fair and fun league play for students. Recently, the League of Legends league started up. It's only 4 weeks. It's very fast paced. My players are concerned about it and complaining, and I know a lot of other schools. But
Hmm,
again, that's not NACE's fault. That's Riot's, because Riot gatekept us from starting the league. But then the conferences and the information that NACE provides to members, there's also a lot of sponsorship opportunities. We were able to partner with Twitch right away. We didn't have to go through the extensive getting 75 concurrent viewers or how many followers. We were just um, straight on to partners. So that was huge for our program because we can now monetize it better. And then the panels. So NACE does a lot of panels throughout the year that have give guidance and feedback on how to run your program. They'll ask you for advice on how to help what help you need for your program. And in general, you have a huge network of directors and coaches that you can ask for advice as well. I still ask daily. I think I just asked them there yesterday on what vendor people use for apparel because I have ones that I use, but I want to see what other people are using as well.
It's an interesting point. I suppose that was helpful too when you were starting out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I used it for all my questions like what do you do for this or how do your players and I still people will ask a question and I'll respond to something that our program does and it might be different from their school. It's just a great place to interact with other coaches and directors.
Yeah. That's kind of the sense I've got poking around your Discord a little bit. It seems very collaborative, which is cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, so next, I have some questions, and feel free to type more questions into chat, but I have two that are already in front of me. And so what we're wondering here over at Dunwoody, and this will be good to get your take on it because you're doing esports and coffee, how do we increase our women population in terms of players? And then the second part to that question, which is probably part of the reason, is how do we promote language that is not hostile or
Uh,
unprofessional?
Yeah, so I'm going to address the second question first. So my players sign a handbook that we made that has our student conduct in it, and it's university policies. So all the students need to sign that and read that. And then we also have a second document that goes over toxicity for our players, that the do's and the don'ts, and what will happen if you violate any of those rules. And so coming down to I stress to my players that we're pretty much a GPGG rated program. And so anything like inappropriate emotes, swearing on stream, or being negative in Twitch chats will get either a suspension, warning, and possible dismissal from the program. So it's very important that our students know that ahead of time before that they join our program, because if they have any infractions, then they would have consequences. I'm very fortunate that I stress that enough to my players, that they kind of joke about it, but at the same time, they take it very serious because they want to be on our program. And so they do listen. And sometimes I have to remind them, but so far we haven't had to remove anyone from our program for it.
That's not just your rules either. I know NACE and the other leagues aren't don't most of them require something along those lines?
Yeah, something along the line. So there is a code of conduct and all the rules for NACE. As far as the guidelines for that, though, I think it's a case by case basis, which you would reach out to the competition council for them to go over and for them to debate. If your school provides a sanction ahead of time, then NACE might not step in, but it just depends if it's on like a NACE stream or if it's a NACE match. So if it's outside of that, then it should be your school that is doing handing out those sanctions.
Okay.
And then so getting more women in game, definitely working through that player handbook and making sure everyone is aware of your toxicity policy. And then creating a safe space. I think that most girls are afraid to apply for a team is because they don't think that they're good enough. That's the number one thing that I always hear. I always tell people to fill out our varsity form and that will contact you anyways. So we don't go just based off skill. While that is really recommended for our teams, our number one thing that we're looking at is if you're a fit for our college. So we're education first. So make sure that the degree that you want to come for, that you are, that Mankato State is the right fit for you. And then your communication level, how well are you communicating with your teams? How are you interacting with them? Are you being professional? Are you just goofing off too much, or are you being a solo player? So those are our top two things, and then it goes down to skill and a couple other things. But making a safe space for everyone and making sure that people are aware that you there are actions or consequences for your actions. I think that's the number one thing to try and promote.
Good to know. That that's something we're doing over here at Dunwoody as well. So I think it's good we can follow your example. So we have Norman from the University of Minnesota here in the chat. He actually has a question. He was our episode 1 of Hawk Talk. He's the League of Legends coach over there, and he's asking, do you provide scholarships to players?
So we have one esports specific scholarship that we hand out to incoming freshmen that would like to be in our program. And besides that, we don't offer any other esports scholarships, but we have academic scholarships. I had a freshman last year that just about had a full ride through all the scholarships that she applied for that I help curate for any incoming students during the month of February to apply for. I usually ask about 10 questions, and then I give you 20 to 30 scholarships for you to fill out and apply for, and you can get a full ride. Another thing, though, for Minnesota State Mankato is our cost of attendance is way less than a lot of universities. It costs around $8,000 a semester.
Hmm, that's good to know. What is the I'm curious, what is the freshman scholarship amount, or does that vary?
I think it ranges from 1,000 to 2,000. It's a private donor, so
Okay,
whatever they work out with them.
very cool. I hope that answers your question, Norman. Our second question, how competitive is COD compared to the CDL? And I'm guessing they're referring to NACE slash other collegiate leagues.
I would maybe compare it to CCL, because
Yeah, that's
CCL
a
is
better one.
probably CCL is the premier league for COD, and that's in the spring. I think it's very comparable. There are a lot of students that could be in the CDL or be on teams. It's just either they aren't recruited or aren't on a team. I know a student from Northwood last year got recruited to Minnesota Rocker. Um, for the COD. Was it COD or Rocket League? Pretty sure it was COD. Um, but you're playing with top tier schools, and some like the students that come through are just on point and amazing. I think our team is going to be a very high contender. Our Team Purple is going in. They were in play-ins on Wednesday to see if we make it to playoffs for NACE, and then our Gold team is still in their league play for this week and next week. But you can definitely compare the two. I wouldn't be surprised if the pipeline that we're all dreaming of from high school to collegiate to pro is a lot sooner than we anticipate.
Agreed, or vice versa, pro back to collegiate, as in the case of some games.
Yep.
Second, I guess we missed Norman's first question. His first question was, so he's the head coach of University of Minnesota for just League of Legends, but it says you're the head coach. Does that mean you're the esports director, or do you actually coach games?
Sure. When my position was created, it was head esports coach, and so that was about 3 years ago. So titles are still being defined in the collegiate esports world. So mine is like a director. So I do have a boss that is our program director that helps with our administrative side and getting like I work with him for our budget, anything with our board of trustees, and then he helps with a bunch of stuff. I wouldn't be here without Mitch. For my job, I don't coach any, and I think I mentioned this before. I don't
Yep,
coach any of our titles unless it was Warzone. I wouldn't be skilled enough to coach any of the titles. So I have specific student coaches, volunteer coaches, and paid coaches that are through our program that work with all of our titles.
that's very helpful. That's
Hmm.
good to know. I'm the same way. I don't want me digging into any strategy. I could, but there's some multiple people better than I. Being on rocker is the dream. Yeah, I can see it. I love it. And then next question is, how do you structure slash organize practices outside of in-facility practices?
So our students have can only do 20 hours of practice matches and VODs, and that's a NAI rule that we follow. So with that, they have about 2 practices a week, 1 VOD, and then 1 match, and that equals about 20 hours. Outside of that, it's whatever they want to do. We do encourage them to go out and do community events or do some solo queuing because you kind of need it, especially for League of Legends or COD. But then also being healthy, we encourage students to hit up the gym or do some sort of outdoor activity or indoor activity where they can be moving around.
I like that. I like that part. Reduce the cortisol levels. Do we have any more questions?
I hope I answered that enough. How do you structure? Yeah. So, I mean, outside of our required practices, we don't it's up to the students.
And I should emphasize, it's easy to find scrims to do on Discord. You know, even the NACE Discord, it looks like there's always other colleges looking for people to play against.
Definitely.
Do you have
So
any
that's all the
tips?
question.
Here's a CAD question for you. Do you have any tips for being better at CAD? And I suppose that's sort of a dual question there because you could improve your communication as a team or you could communicate your own personal skills.
Yeah, I do know for pro teams that they're not just looking for skill. Obviously, they are looking to make sure that you have that top tier one skill, but they're also looking at your communication and how professional you are. So make sure if you have Twitter that posting your VODs on there about your gameplay and then your communication on there. There's always people who are looking to coach others if you need extra coaching. But it doesn't ever hurt to just send a VOD to a team and be like, here's who I am and why I should be on your team. I've spoken to a lot of pro teams and their DMs are usually always open or their websites have links to submit your information. It's hard to find people sometimes, so take that active approach to go and find the pro team that you want to play for.
Mhm. Cool. Well, we're 1 minute over. If that's it, I'd like to say thank you very much again, Jackie, for joining us on Hawk Talk episode 2, and look forward to the next one.
You're welcome. Good luck with starting your program. I'm excited to see it grow.
Thank you, Jackie.